Thank you for stopping by and joining in Coffee and Crochet with Sara. Sometimes I call this Coffee with Friends because I love all my Facebook people and all my YouTube people. And I'm so happy that today is National Coffee Day. National Coffee Day. Can you believe that? My cup says, with enough caffeine, I could rule the world. The only thing about me and caffeine is that most people, they drink a couple cups of caffeine or coffee and they're like high wired. Me, if I drink a cup of coffee, it just soothes me and calms me down. My son is the same way. It's the weirdest thing. Well, you don't have to be drinking coffee today to be a part of Coffee and Crochet with Sara. I just want to thank you all for popping in. I've got some fun things to show you. And we're also going to do a demonstration. It was kind of interesting. I had this planned for a while. That I wanted to show you the crab stitch, or what is also called the reverse single crochet. And about 2 weeks ago, I had someone contact me in my messages on Facebook and say, can you please help us? I can't figure it out. And I said, you know what? I'm going to in a couple of weeks. And that's how a lot of times I know what you guys are looking for. So feel free to comment something you're looking for. And also, I wanted to also let you know, we're winding down 2020. We just have a few more washcloths of the month to do. And I've already got this month's ready to go, or I should say next month. October is next month. All ready to go, and I really like it. And I hope you're going to like it as much as you liked this month. But I want you to start thinking about, I'm going, for the year 2021, our crochet along is going to be just a stitch of the month. And not just a stitch like a single crochet or a double crochet. It's going to be a stitch pattern. So something like, I don't know, crocodile stitch or something like that. And so what I'd like for you to do is just comment if there's a particular stitch pattern that you've been wanting to learn. And then maybe we can incorporate that into our stitch of the month for 2021. All right, now we still have October, November, and December for our washcloth of the month. And I've had so much fun doing them. And I liked that we were able to incorporate some new stitches in those as well. Because the whole thing of doing this particular type of thing is so that we can learn together. And this month, I keep saying last month, we're still in September. We did the Kittens in a Row washcloth, and I've always loved that stitch. I have a bag actually also that is done with the Kittens in a Row pattern, stitch pattern. And remember, there's a difference between a stitch and a stitch pattern. A stitch is your basic single crochet, double crochet stitches. When it's a stitch pattern, it takes those stitches and puts them in different places and makes new stitch patterns. And that's what's fun about crochet is it's a never-ending art. It will constantly be growing as long as people are crocheting. So anyway, be thinking about some stitches, some stitch patterns that you'd like to learn, and maybe we can incorporate those into our next crochet along. All right, we need to clink in. So I'm going to use my big old mug here. Let's clink in. I'm pretty washed out here with this white mug. Clinkety, clink, clink, clink. And for those of you who don't know what that's all about, it's just clinking in, saying, hello, I'm here today. And so anyway, I see a lot of you already clinking in. Let's see. Oh, goodness. Lots of you here today. It's so good to see you. Coffee time. I love that gift. That's cute. Cindy Ho says, do I drink coffee with the straw? I actually do. And the reason that I do is my dentist told me that if I want to keep my teeth whiter, that if you drink with the straw, it goes past your teeth and it will help. I don't know if it's perfectly works or not. And so what I do is straws are too long, and so I cut them in half. Actually, I cut them in about 3/4, and the last little bit, it gets put in a bag. And my granddaughter and I make jewelry and necklaces, adding beads and different not lockets, but charms and things to it. And we make fun necklaces and bracelets. And what I do with my coffee straws is I rinse them out with really super hot water. I don't use soap because I don't want it to get inside the straw. And so I'll use a few. I'll have like 3 or 4 because I really prefer the plastic ones. I tried some that were I think they were like a paper, and they don't hold up in the coffee. They get too soft. And so what I do is I just rinse them out with super duper hot water, and then I just stand them up in my I have like a little tray thing in my sink, and then it rinses them out. I only use them for coffee, and then I use them until they just can't be used anymore, and then they go in the trash. But they get lots of use, and I know it's silly. Sometimes I forget to use a straw, but I really do prefer to use a straw. When the coffee is super duper hot, though, I might sip the side of the mug until it cools down a little bit. That was a really fun question. And you feel free to ask me whatever questions that you want. I'm just looking through, seeing if there's any more questions. All right, are you ready to get busy with our... I was just looking at some of the questions. All right, let's get busy with our demonstration. All right, so I'm going to click over to my top cam here. And I've got just a couple of fun coasters that I made. And this is just your basic coaster. You start with 10, then you do 2 in each, so it makes 20. Then you do 2 in each again, and it makes 40. And it's just double crochet. And I made them in different kind of color variations here. And so what we're going to do is I'm going to show you how to do that crab stitch or reverse single crochet. I'm going to go ahead and join in that green color. I wanted to do green against white so that you could see the stitches. Now, the thing about the reverse single crochet is that it feels a little bit clumsy at first because instead of going this way, we're going to be going in reverse. All right, and so what I do, when I don't know why, but it seems like I'm always changing colors, but you don't have to. I think when you're doing this particular stitch, if you change colors, it makes it pop out quite a bit better. All right, now if I was going to do a regular single crochet, I would just go in the next stitch, pull up a loop, yarn over, and go through both loops, and just single crochet around. And that makes a nice trim. It's flat, it's nice. But we want this special little ripply effect, I guess you'd call that. So let me pull those out. And I've also got an H hook here if you're wondering what I'm doing. All right, so I'm going to make sure that my strings are tied down. I'll go ahead and make a chain 1. That way I can snug everything down and it's, in place where it needs to be. All right, so what you're going to do is you're going to take your hook and go this direction and go in that stitch, go all the way through, and you're going to grab that yarn and pull it through, yarn over, and go through both stitches. Looks like a little bit of a knot, doesn't it? All right, so now we'll go in the next stitch. We'll go through to the back. We'll grab that, pull it through, yarn over, and go through both stitches. See, we're still doing single crochets. We're doing them in reverse. And I learned it as the crab stitch, but you can call it reverse single crochet or crab stitch. All right, let's do a few more. We'll go in the next stitch, all the way through. We'll grab that yarn, pull it through, yarn over, and go through both loops. I'm just doing a few more slow so that you can see them. All right. One of the things that I learned is if you pull it too tightly, it doesn't seem like it works as well. It bunches up. I like to keep it just a little bit loose, but you don't want to be too loose or your loops will kind of hang a little. Let me show you. If you go in and you pull that loop up and it's too loopy, see how that kind of looks messy? So we have to find a happy medium. All right? So, in my own honest opinion, it's something you have to learn kind of on your own with practice. All right? So, you go in the stitch, grab that loop and pull it through, yarn over, and go through those 2 loops. And you really are doing a single crochet in reverse. And I don't know why it's called a crab stitch. It's just the name they give it. And something that I have found even in the crochet world is many stitches have many names. So, and that's how you do that crab stitch or reverse single crochet. You're going the opposite direction that we normally go. You're still pulling up a loop, you're still yarning over, and you're still going through 2, just like you do if you're going this way, and it makes that nice little ridgy look. And it's a perfect stitch for like these coasters or say a placemat, the edge of a pillow or hat. You can also put it on the edge of a ear warmer or headband. It's just a really nice finishing stitch. And you know, single crochet regularly are fine, but this makes just a really nice stitch. All right, let me do a few more just in case. Remember, the key is not to stitch too tightly and not to stitch too loosely. You want it to lay nicely, go through, pull up your loop, yarn over, go through 2. And I think if you'll practice, and coasters are a good thing to practice on because you can whip up some cute little coasters just like these. They're just basic little round coasters. And you can make something useful and practice a stitch that you haven't done before. Isn't that cool? I just love it. It's a lot of fun. And I wanted to show this to you because in October, when we do our washcloth of the month, we're going to be using this stitch around the edge of our washcloth. And so, I think you'll like it. And the truth is, if you don't have to do that. You can do a regular single crochet. But it's a really fun stitch to learn, and it's super easy. The key to it is remembering you're going the opposite direction and just take your time until you're comfortable. Okay? Oh, Tammy's over here. Bead stitch, pineapple stitch, puff stitch. See, she has lots she wants to learn. And that's the fun of our Coffee and Crochet with Sara and my YouTube video channel, is for us to learn things together. All right? All right. Now, if you have any more questions about that, just remember this next month in October, I can't remember if it's 3 or 4 weeks when we're going to do our washcloth, but we are going to use the reverse single crochet or the crab stitch to trim our washcloth, okay? Have you ever done it this way, Sara? I don't know what that means, honey. Might be something I was not in on. So I'll come back and read through those. Now, one thing I do try to do, my friends, is after I'm done with the video, you know, I always tweak it up and send it over to YouTube, and then I'll go back to the Facebook video and I'll try to read through all the comments. I may not be able to comment on all of them, but I will try to read through them and make sure if there's any questions that I can get them answered. If you have a question that it's not answered, maybe I missed it somehow, on Facebook, feel free to send me a message through the Posh Pooch Designs page, okay? Or you can just comment again. Say, Sara, I have a question. And you can also send me, you know, pictures and things like that through the messenger. So, now, let's talk about what happened this week at Posh Pooch Designs. So, funny thing, I had someone ask me about an apple pattern I wrote a pattern probably, I don't know, 3 or 4 or maybe even 5 years ago. And I thought that I did a video on it last year. I had it on my list. And I thought, well, I looked through YouTube. I couldn't find, I'm like, where did my video go? I know I did an apple pattern. And yes, I did an apple coaster. But I thought that I had done my apple pattern on YouTube. So I couldn't find it. And so I went back through my notes from last year and I noticed that I crossed it out and did something else. I don't know why. I can't remember. Sometimes I can't remember last week, let alone last year. So we updated the apple pattern, and you can do it 2 ways. You can do it with the sliced apple core, or you can do a solid apple. And remember, if you're not into red apples, you can make a yellow apple, or a green apple, or a pink apple, or a purple apple, or whatever color apple that you want to. They're super fun. And I did mine in acrylic yarns. And I made a loop so you can hang it up instead of just a apple tag, stem, not tag. And mine are for decoration. You can do these in medium weight number 4 acrylic, or you can do them in cotton. And I think the best cotton for this project is the I Love This cotton from Hobby Lobby. They have a really pretty red, and it's kind of a cherry red. I really, really like it. But it also is, I just love their cotton. I really, really do. And another really good cotton that I love, of course, is Premier Cotton. It's also really, really soft. And when I'm making washcloths that I'm just going to use for everyday stuff or scrubbies, I'll use any old cotton. I love all kinds of cottons. But if it's going to be something extra special that I'm going to maybe hang up, or because I think this would be a wonderful gift for a friend that loves apples, that maybe, getting a new house or moving out or whatever for the first time, or restarting or whatever, for a birthday gift if they just love apples, to give them a set of a solid and a sliced open apple. Isn't that fun? So anyway, we updated the pattern itself. I added a lot of new pictures, especially on the row where we do the shaping. There's a lot of pictures. And then, of course, there's a brand new video on YouTube. I don't know why I decided not to do this last year. Maybe somebody wanted me to do something else, and so I moved it around, and it just didn't get put back in. Because y'all know, I've told you this before, I have all my plans done as far as what I'm going to do 3 to 4 months in advance. But that doesn't mean I don't move things around and change them. So anyway, that is our apple and sliced open apple pot holder, washcloth, and, hot pad, whatever you want to use it for, decoration. You can even set them on the table and put bowl candy. Get some of those cherry apple candy, not cherry, but apple candies. Make a bowl. Oh, wouldn't that be fun to give as a gift? See, I always have all these great ideas. Okay, that's what we did last week. Now, we also did, let me set that aside, this hooded cowl last week. It's done with the chunky yarn, and I showed you that yarn. Let me grab this one. It's done with the new Karen swirl cakes. The color was iced cream. And I'm going to tell you, I absolutely love this yarn. It is so soft and smooth and easy to work with. And I love how it moved from the swirl type colors to the solid colors. And I think you're really going to love it. It is a chunky 5. And that hooded cowl is a chunky 5. Now, I also used, for the original one that I did a few years ago for my friend, it was done, I thought that I had some of the yarn left over, but I don't. Anyway, it was done with, I love this chunky, I think. I love this chunky, or I love this chunky yarn from Hobby Lobby, which is also a chunky number 5. Now, someone asked me if they could put 2 medium weight number 4 yarns together to make this hooded cowl. Now, if you put 2 number 4s together, it's going to make it more like a chunky 6. You can do it, but keep in mind it's going to be thicker and bigger. If you have light number 3s, you could put 2 of those together and get about the same thickness as a chunky 5, okay? So you keep that in mind when you're doing some yarn adjustments. Now, I did have someone send me a picture, and they used a medium weight number 4 yarn. And they made it, it's a little smaller, which is fine because it's for a child. So, it is done with a chunky 5. But if you want it for a smaller child, you use the medium weight number 4, and it's probably going to be okay. All right. Now, the other thing we did was yesterday, where's that yarn at? I used this mandala, however you want to say it. It's the Thick and Quick. The color is Labyrinth. And I have 2 of them because I made the hat yesterday. This is our Mentor. I can remember the name all of a sudden. This is our Mentor chunky, super chunky hat. It has a nice thick band to keep your ears warm. And I know you wonder, why does it have the holes? And the holes is what filters the warmth in and out. I wouldn't use this if you were going to be, below 0 temperature. But it is a really warm hat, and it has this fun floppy pom-pom on top, which is one of the things I love about it. And the neat thing about this hat is that it can be adjusted to any size. And it was so funny. I got 2 separate emails. One of them said, I made your hat, it's way too big. The other person said, I made your hat, it's way too small. And so something you have to remember when you're working, especially with a chunky yarn, is you need to measure as you go. And that's because just because you're using the same size, something on my chin, just because you're using the same size crochet hook doesn't mean you're stitching the same size. Everybody stitches differently. Okay, some people stitch tighter and some people stitch looser. And with this hat, we make the band first. And so measure to make sure two rows on the band average about 1 inch. But if you're a tight stitcher, it might be less. If you're a loose stitcher, it might be more. And this is where your tape measure is very important because you want your hat to fit. And this is such an easy pattern that you make the band and then we move up and we cinch the top close after a couple of decrease stitches and add the pom-pom. It is super easy. It will work for any size head. But the key to it is to measure as you go. And another example of that is one of the ladies said that the hat was too long. And the other lady said the hat was too short. And so that's where you're going to measure also, because you're going to have as many rows as you need. And so you need to measure. Make sure that it's going to fit the person. If you're making it for a 7-year-old and you made the band smaller, you may not need as many rows because their head's going to be a little bit shorter, right? And so keep that in mind. And the truth is, and I say this all the time, the tape measure is your best friend when you crochet or knit or really do any crafts, because everybody crochets and crafts differently. Even knitters. I tend to be a really tight knitter. For some reason, I get those loops on my knitting needles and for some reason, I get them on there too tightly. And as I stitch and knit, I get tighter and tighter. But when I go with my crochet hook, I am a loose crocheter. Isn't that funny? And I'll start a project, and I've got a hair that is driving me crazy. I'll start a project, and as I'm going along, especially if I'm watching something on TV that's just really relaxing, or I'm listening to some relaxing music, I might slow down my stitches, okay? And then my stitches get looser. So keep all of those things in mind when you're crocheting, when you're knitting and crafting. Measure as you go. These tape measures are like $1. You can find them at Walmart, Joann's, Hobby Lobby, and Michael's. Sometimes they might be as much as $2. It's worth buying 5 or 6 of these and putting them in all your crochet bags, all your project bags. I have them upstairs, downstairs, in my crochet bag, in my bedroom, absolutely everywhere. because I want to measure as I go. And you know, even when you're making something like this, you know, we do a row of single crochet around the edge, and you measure and you're like, that's only maybe 8.5 inches, and maybe it's supposed to be 9. You can always add another row of crochet, of single crochet, if you want it to be bigger. But keep in mind, if someone who stitches really tight and their apple ends up a little smaller because their stitches might be a little tighter. Or you might see bigger holes maybe because they're a looser crocheter. All right, so those are things to keep in mind as you're crafting, knitting, crocheting, okay? Very, very important. I want to hug the wall behind you. Yes, I have a lot of yarn, and it's a lot of it I have because of when I first started um, doing a lot of crochet. I would buy the acrylics when they were on sale because I did a lot of custom work. I don't do as much custom work anymore. If you go to my Etsy shop, you'll see I'm not, I still design dog sweaters, but I don't make them for custom orders. And the reason I stopped doing that is because of, I tried to teach people how to measure their puppies and their dogs and stuff, and they weren't doing it right. And so we were doing a lot of back and forth. And I told my husband, I said, it's time for me to do something else. I still sell dog hats and things like that. But I recently have gone through all of my yarns, and ones that I haven't been using have been donated, and I kept the ones that I do use, and I do that periodically. I have many friends who crochet and knit, and so a lot of times I'll donate to them as well because I like to learn and do things. Sometimes if I teach, you know, I'll provide the yarn, things like that. So it seems like I have an awful lot, but it does move a lot. If you've watched my videos, you'll notice a lot of it is different than when I first started. So anywho, there's one more thing I want to show you before we go. Okay, I gotta scoot my chair back a little bit. It's something that I've been working on, and I'm going to release this pattern on Friday, Lord willing, and the creek don't rise. I still haven't got some of the tests back, but this is my cuddle blanket. It's huge. Remember those I want to make a blankie yarns that I purchased? I'm trying to get it all out here. It's very heavy too, by the way. All right, now I had several people say, you haven't ever done anything with that, and we want to make something besides just a single crochet blanket. Okay, so this is the yarn. It's called I Want a Blankie. It's by Lion Brand Yarns, and you get 28 ounces on each one. They're huge, okay? And it is blanket yarn. It's a chunky 6. And I purchased 2 of them. Originally, I was going to make this as a gift, but it didn't work out, and she didn't really care for how thick the yarn was, basically. And so I made it for myself. I'm going to keep this one, okay? So, if you purchase some of these, I want to make a blankie. I don't know why that's all white out there. Oh, because it's, okay, we'll do it this way. I want to make a blankie, chunky number 6. It takes 28 ounces. Now, if you have a chunky number 6 yarn, you can still, then it's not this blanket yarn, or it's some other blanket yarn, or even it's just a chunky number 6 yarn of any kind, you can still make this big, gorgeous blanket, okay? And hopefully, like I said, Lord willing and the creek don't rise. Sorry, that's a southern saying. I'll have it ready on Friday, maybe Friday afternoon or evening, okay? And like I said, you know, we work really hard trying to get a lot of stuff done, and tests and updates and pictures and all kinds of things go into making a video. And I get people all the time that say, well, can you just do a real quick video of this? And And the answer is I can never do a real quick video. It's not that I can't do a quicker video. It's that I make so many mistakes. I'll say something like, grab your H hook, and I need a, it's not an H hook, it's an I hook, and I'm holding an H hook, so when I do videos, sometimes I have to start over, or I have to, I have to edit the video, make pictures, edit pictures, patterns have to be tested, and so it takes a long time. Roughly, when I write a pattern, it's probably 6 weeks to 2 months before that pattern is ready to go to testing. And then it takes, a month or so through testing. Because people are busy, and you know what? People are just people. And sometimes I push them through, and I push my testers pretty hard. And sometimes we make mistakes that have to be corrected, and I always say this: we do the very best that we can. But if you're looking for perfection, I'm not it. I would rather have so much more fun crocheting and crocheting with my friends than to be a perfectionist. Although I do try. So, anywho, I've also got some fun things planned for October. I'm working on a new silly hat because I like to always release a silly hat in October because, Halloween, because I'm silly. And I also have some breast cancer awareness patterns we're going to be retesting and updating and making some videos for. So there's lots of fun things happening next month. And don't forget the new washcloth of the month in October. So I'm going to let you go. We've been on here longer than 30 minutes, but I just want to remind you, it's National Coffee Day. So drink your coffee. If you use a straw, wash it out, use it over like I do. Anywho, keep calm and crochet on. And thank you all for being a part of Posh Pooch Designs, Coffee and Crochet with Sara. And I'll see you next week.